Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. I'm Nadia Holtz from sportsbookreview.com. With us today is SBR consultant Dave Golikoff, who's here to share some insight on how veteran goalies Brodeur and Thomas affect future odds. What's up, Dave? How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. Thank you. Okay, so which teams would be a good fit for both of these guys?
Well, you take a look at Tim Thomas, and I'm not sure if there is a good fit for this guy. He sort of alienated himself a couple of years ago. He had those bizarre White House comments, really setting up a political role for himself. Then he left a successful Boston Bruins team to take a year off, came back and was really not the same goaltender. First he didn't want to play for the Islanders, then he played for the Panthers, was okay. Then he was traded to Dallas with a team that really needed a good backup goaltender, somebody that can maybe take over the #1 role. He never really did the job there either. So you take a look at Tim Thomas, you start doing the math. There's a little bit of off-the-ice concerns. You start to wonder, is his heart still in the game? Is he a good leader? Is he a good guy to have in the locker room? Then, of course, there's his age. His numbers aren't even that good. He's a save percentage around 900 and a GAA of about 3. You could probably find somebody off the street, some of these young guys who are trying to make the league, who will probably give you the same numbers, and they'll probably be cheaper as well. So I think Tim Thomas is probably done. As far as Martin Brodeur goes, he's a little bit between a rock and a hard place. He's a living legend. He wants to play for a contender, but most of the contenders really are stocked at the position, not only their starter, but backup as well. And so does Martin Brodeur want to be a backup for a contender? A team like maybe Colorado come in and be the #2 guy, which would be a little bit of a bizarre role for him. I don't think he's ever been a backup in, let's say, at least the last 2 decades or so. And the flip side for him is that he could also start, but start for a weaker team. It's maybe a team like Edmonton, a team like Winnipeg. I don't think that's where he really wants to finish up his career. So I think if you're really looking at it, Tim Thomas has no options. Brodeur, I think best case scenario, a team like Toronto, a team where he would come in as the backup and possibly become the starter. Toronto and Dallas are the 2 teams that really come to mind for me.
Okay, so you do think that they should be thinking about retiring right now?
Well, I think Thomas definitely should be leaning towards retirement. I think Brodeur, it's really more up to him. If he wants to play another year and he's comfortable with the roles, yeah, I think he can definitely find a home. I think Toronto has expressed serious interest in wanting to bring him in. They basically said they'll kick James Reimer to the curb, even though they just signed him. They went through the arbitration process with him. They're willing to kick him to the curb, obviously, to bring in a guy like Brodeur. I think Dallas would actually be a great situation for Brodeur, a team that's on the rise in the Western Conference, that needs a goaltender, needs some veteran leadership. He could still bring a lot to that team. I think if I'm Martin Brodeur, I don't want to go to a team and be irrelevant. I don't want to be, sort of like a Juwan Howard in the Miami Heat, just sitting as like the 10th guy on the bench and really having no impact on the team. I think if he goes to somewhere like Chicago, that's going to happen. Los Angeles, obviously. A team like, I think I said Chicago already. I won't go there again. But Colorado, I don't think he's really going to be a starter in any of those situations. I don't think he's going to play a significant role as a backup. So I think for him, he's got to go to a team where there's value. If he doesn't want to do that, if that fire still doesn't burn in him, then he should definitely lean towards retirement.
Okay, now how does this all affect the betting odds?
Well, I think if you see Thomas retire or sign anywhere, I don't see that affecting the odds at all. I don't think that's going to move the needle for any team whatsoever. I don't think Thomas is the difference between, even 5 wins, really, for a team from, top of the line to bottom of the line. I really don't think it makes that much of a difference. We saw with Florida, it really didn't move the needle at all. He didn't move the needle with Dallas either. So Thomas, I think, is pretty much done. I think with Brodeur, you would see a change in the Stanley Cup futures if he went to one of those teams that I mentioned. I think if he goes to Toronto, if he goes to Dallas, their futures are somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 1. I think you definitely will see an uptick there. You take a look at Toronto. We're talking about a team that, I know, a lot of skepticism, of course, but this is a team that was in first place at the end of last October in the Eastern Conference. The East is wide open. Brodeur, maybe things go well for him. He could potentially lead that team to maybe pass the first round, at least into the playoffs, maybe past the first round. Who knows? Dallas, same type of situation. I think if he signs there, I think a lot of bettors, as well as the odds makers, will view that as an upgrade not only to their team but to their goaltending situation, because Kari Lehtinen he's a little bit of a weak goaltender. He's a very borderline starter. So I think Brodeur goes to those situations, maybe a couple other teams, and impacts the odds. You see those odds for those two teams shorten. Other than that, I don't think he makes a difference with any of the contenders. So that's how I see it affecting the odds.
There you have it, Dave. Thank you so much for joining us, and talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. Well, that's all for today. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook. See you tomorrow with more updates. For sportsbookreview.com, I'm your host, Nadia Holtz.